Okay, I'm going to share with you the Success Trap to Freedom model. And this is one of the best representations I can give you of the key design elements that you need to keep in mind as you are designing your business. And there's lots of pieces to this, and I just want you to follow along. I want you to take notes. I want you to ask questions. Any of the above, I will answer them in any of our live trainings. So this is a grid that I want you to be very, very, very familiar with. And this grid, and I'm going to draw this freehand, so you'll recognize that this is certainly not going to be exactly to scale, but it is going to give you a fairly good picture of what you're up against in terms of designing a business model that actually works. Now, this down here is time, and we've got to be very, very careful and cognizant of our time. This here is output. And we could give it arbitrary numbers just to give you a range. So let's just say this is 0 and this is 10. Now, there are two lines in this business, in this model, that you've got to be perfectly clear about. And I'm going to first and foremost do this one as red, because frankly you need to be careful about it and you need to be aware of it. Now, at the beginning of your business, okay, right down here at the very beginning of your business, the output, this is your energy, all of those pieces, and we're going to call this effort and energy. On a scale of 0 to 10, it's probably going to be about 11.5, but let's just imagine that it's a 10 and it's going to stay at a 10 for a long while. And depending upon how well you design your business, this is going to be shorter or this is going to be longer. But what happens with this for most businesses is this. It's that we get it working, and it's like, oh, it's a little bit better, 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 it's a little bit better. But because we don't actually design in any really good systems, the actual energy, and this is effort and energy, just to be clear, this line, I'll write that over here, effort and energy. Actually, I want to put it up here. It's going to be on a bit of an angle, but you'll get the point. Effort and energy. Starts really high. As we get our sort of feet under the ground, it gets a little bit less. But I think, in my humble estimation, I'm probably off scale here, is that most entrepreneurs work too hard, and that this number is probably a 6 or a 7, somewhere in that range. Now, that's line number 1. Here's the first thing I want you to know, is that in terms of designing your business, your effort and energy, we should be shooting for like a 2.5 or a 3. You're going to bust your ass, you're going to risk capital, you're going to risk time, you're going to create jobs, you're going to do all those sorts of things. To trade this 10 for a 7 doesn't make any sense. To trade this 10 over time for a 2.5, that begins to make some sense. But let's just say that this is where it lands. Now, the other line is this, and this is in terms of output. So this is your output of energy and effort is what the first line is. Now, the next line is that we want the business to actually have an output. And what do we want the business to have an output of? We're going to pick green because we want the business to have an output of money. So I'm going to actually draw this in a way that is probably not accurate, but you'll get a sense of it anyway. So at the beginning, there's very little money, very little money. If we begin to get it to grow, it goes up, it goes up, it goes up. And hopefully by the time we're getting a little bit of systems, we're beginning to get this range. Now, this creates some areas. First and foremost, this little point here, this is the freedom in terms of time that I was talking about. So let's just actually put that in. So let's just talk about this. This is sales and profitability. Let's just name the line. Sales and profitability. They don't always go hand in hand. That's why I have both down. Okay, so this point here, we're going to call that freedom. Now, this time frame from here to here is a time frame that you need to pay attention to. The honest to goodness truth is most people never actually get here, and I'll tell you why. Because there are some processes that occur. So first and foremost, in this area, This is hard work, and it costs money, and it costs time, and people quit. Or perhaps a better way to put it is they never start. But once our effort starts dropping and our sales starts going up, it's just not as hard as it once was. This area here, I want to get this on another point. I'm going to call this one Cyan. This one here is a bit of a trap, because we can see progress and we begin to become somewhat successful. That's a C. Somewhat successful, and we can see the end in mind, but usually we designed our business so poorly that we never actually get here. So it's marginally successful but cash poor, and what that simply means is I'm making a little bit of money, but man, I'm working too hard for it. And in this area, this is where most people get trapped. I can't quit, it doesn't make any sense because the thing's making $45,000 a year. But for me to really experience some freedom, I actually have to be making $65,000 a year. But I'm so busy delivering the stuff that I'm delivering and trying to find a new client that I really can't get here. But I can't possibly quit because that would be silly, because I also have a bunch of clients who are relying upon me. So this area here of marginally successful and cash poor is where most businesses operate. But if we can just move you to here, this area here, as soon as we start having the gap on this side, this area is fun. And when we start getting here, this area is, and by the way, if we design this properly, I'm just going to do a dotted line, is that this gets down to about 2.5 to 3 in terms of our effort and energy. And this area here is where we have freedom. I'm going to do it slower for it to work out. But I want you to see freedom. And this is possible when we design our businesses wisely. So the thing I want you to understand is that from here to here, we've got to know exactly what the number is, and we've got to design our systems and our processes in such a way that we are designing our business for freedom, keeping in mind our constraints that we chose. Because down here is just painful. And I would honestly say, in my humble opinion, over 90% of the businesses that I work with and consult with are in this trap. Marginally successful, but cash poor. We want you to be kick-ass successful and cash and time rich. So all you need to do is to understand that every single step along these lines, as sales is growing, as my effort and energy is dropping, these are all parts of the design of your business model, so you know where this is going to happen. And I want you to pick how long. So how long from wherever you are right now until you get your business to freedom.